Hey, it's Vicky, and today I have my book unhaul as promised. The last video that I did sort of a bookshelf reorganization, and kind of as I was going through and reorganizing, I grabbed books that just weren't doing it for me anymore, and ones that I just felt like it was time to part with. So I'm going to share those with you now, and you can see which ones didn't make the cut. So right off the bat, I would say the majority of these books were 3-star reads. So they were books that I enjoyed or, liked, but I didn't love and I kept for one reason or another, and now I don't really want to keep. Because typically if I read like a 2-star book or a 1-star book or a DNF a book, I pretty much get rid of those right away most of the time, just because I just don't want them around. So this one, however, was a 5-star read, but it is one that I just don't need in my life anymore. Like, it served its purpose. It was a great book, and I'm actually going to pass it on to one of my best friends, and that is Busy Toddler's Guide to Actual Parenting by Susie Allison. This is Busy Toddler over on Instagram. I just love Susie, and so when she announced that she was going to be publishing a book, I pre-ordered this and I read it and I loved it. She's just so down to earth and has just such awesome just parenting tips, but this is basically for, babies, kids from birth until they, start going to school all day. And my kids are now at that point, which is kind of sad, but so I don't really need this book anymore. But one of my best friends has a baby who is almost 8 months old, and so I already asked her if she would like this, and she said yes. So I'm going to be passing this on to her. So the next few are all nonfiction books that got 3 stars for me. And some of them I was even like conflicted about, and it just felt weird about. So I don't even know why I kept them in the first place, to be honest with you. Like, for example, this first one, The Hot Zone by Richard Preston. This is a book about the Ebola outbreak that happened in, I want to say it was like the 90s sometime, or maybe like late 80s, early 90s. Anyways, and just the way it was written, I don't know. I just didn't like it. I felt like I gave it 3 stars because it was a very like addicting type of read. Like, you did want to keep picking it up, but it also just felt like it was over the top. I don't know. There's something about it that just rubbed me the wrong way, and that's why I only got 3 stars. The same for Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. This one, I think it was because like when the writer started writing this book, it's by John Barrett, by the way, he was like planning on doing a totally different book than what he ended up doing, because like there was a turn of events that happened. And though I really liked the setting of this book, like it has made me want to go and visit Savannah, Georgia, but other than that, it was just like, okay, so I'm gonna pass it on. This is one, a memoir, Running with Scissors by Augusten Burroughs, that I really struggled with, because when I was about halfway through this book, I did some reading on it, and it turns out there was like a lot of his family, and not his family, but the family he was staying with, like while he was, this memoir took place, were basically contesting a lot of the things that he said. And so it kind of just brought into question, like, was this actually true? Did he embellish things? Did he make it up? Or is it one of those cases where like, oh, they just are upset because I'm writing a memoir about them? I don't know. So I felt weird when I finished this book, and that's why I only gave it 3 stars. And so I know I'm never going to read this again, so I'm getting rid of it. And then another one that I thought was good, but one I know I will just never revisit, is What the Eyes Don't See by Mona Hanna-Attisha. It's about the Flint water crisis. It was good, but like, it didn't blow my mind. I definitely want to read other books about this topic. And yeah, this is one I won't revisit. All right, now I just have like a big old stack of books. There's no rhyme or reason to these, why I'm getting rid of them really. This is the only one though. Okay, no, there's 2. There are 2 that I haven't actually read, and usually I don't unhaul books that I haven't at least given a chance. The first one though is, I have a good reason. It's because we actually have 2 copies of this book, so I don't need 2 copies of it, and that's The Twits by Roald Dahl. I have no idea what this is about. It's a Roald Dahl book that I've never read, but I had this copy, and then last year for Christmas, my father-in-law got Leia like a Roald Dahl box set, and the Twits is in there. So we already have a copy of it, so I don't need this copy. So I'm getting rid of it. And then the other one, this is one that I haven't read that I hauled. But even when I hauled it, I was on the fence about it. And now I'm just like, when I look at it, I'm like, I just don't want to read this. And that's The Shack by William Paul Young. I don't know. Like I said, was on the fence about it. But because I got it at a library sale, so it was super cheap. And I was like, yeah, why not? Let's just do it. And now I'm like, nah, I don't care. I don't want to read this. So I'm just going to get rid of it. Then we have a book that I DNF'd. I actually just DNF'd it last month. And that's Wicked Girls by Stephanie Hemphill. I made it halfway through this. It was boring. I was not feeling it. So it's gone. It's gone. Goodbye. Next up, we have Revolutionary Road by Richard Yates. This was one that I thought was going to be a 5-star read. Like, it just kind of had everything going for it to be a 5-star read for me in my mind, but then when I actually read it, it just wasn't that. I think what it was the characters in here were very unlikable to me, and that doesn't always mean that the book isn't going to be good. I still gave this 3 stars, but I don't know. It just, there was something about it that it just rubbed me the wrong way, and I had a hard time sympathizing for the characters when I was supposed to, just because I just couldn't relate. So yeah, didn't like this one. I mean, I liked it. I gave it 3 stars, but it's not one I'm ever gonna read again. And then this is kind of an unpopular opinion. I'm gonna be unhauling The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I know a lot of people loved this book, and like there's a sequel that just came out and people just really loved this. And for me, it was okay. And I don't know if it's because I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook was fine, but it's like, I wonder if I would have had a different experience if I had physically read the book. So I don't know, but it's one that, like, I'm not saying that I don't want to read any more Lisa Jewell. I definitely want to try her again. This is the only Lisa Jewell I've read, but this was a 3-star read. It was okay. I'm not interested in reading the sequel. So yeah, I might see if one of my friends wants this, because she's kind of into like mysteries and thrillers and stuff, and I think that she might really enjoy this. Next up, we have a middle grade book, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim by Robert C. O'Brien. I just read this one in March, like for middle grade March. And I love the movie, The Secret of Nim, which it's based on, you know, this book. And so I wanted to read the source material just because, you know. And there was a section in the middle of this book that was so boring. Like, I was like, how would a middle grade reader how would this even hold their interest? Like, I am not interested. So it definitely went from being maybe like a 4 or 5 star down to a 3, because it got very dull. It got very dull. So, and I know that it's like a Newbery Medal winner and everything, but it wasn't the greatest middle grade book I've ever read. So I'm gonna pass it on in the hopes that maybe somebody will enjoy it more than I did. Next, we have Sarah's Key by Tatiana de Rosenay, and this is a historical fiction book that takes place in World War II Paris. And this one was also a 3-star read. Like, I was just very meh about it. And I don't know why. I think, okay, I remember now. I was really interested in the story because it's one of those historical fictions where you have a dual timeline. There's a story in the past and a story in the present. The story in the present, I did not give a crap about whatsoever. Absolutely no cares at all. I liked the story in the past though. But when half of the story is like, you don't care about it, it kind of brings the book down a little bit. And I think that's what happened here. So I gave this 3 stars. I know a lot of people love this and they're like, oh, I cried and it was so emotional. It was all right. Next up, I have 2 horror novels that were both 3-star reads. See what I mean? Like, I feel like every single one of these books was 3 stars. The first one is The Hunger by Alma Katsu, and this is one that is like historical horror. So I wanted to try it because I don't really think I've done very much reading of historical horror. And this one had a cool premise. It was about the Donner Party, but obviously with like a horror, like supernatural sort of twist. But it ended up being kind of slow for me. And yeah, that's all I can really say about it. It did have some good horror elements and everything, but overall, I just felt like it was kind of slow. So it got 3 stars. And then another one is Perfect Days by Raphael Montes, and this one I picked up because it was kind of compared to You by Carolyn Kepnes, which I loved. In this one, though yes, it was disturbing, and I can see the parallels, why people would compare it to You, or kind of say, if you liked You, read this. But for me, I don't remember exactly. I feel like it was just sort of underwhelming and kind of forgettable. So that's why I'm getting rid of it. Next up, we have Bright Lights Big City by J. McInerney, and this one I also gave 3 stars to, and it has a sort of a different, unique writing style. It's told in second person, which works, but for this story, it was just kind of weird. And I can see why some people don't like it. It was okay for me. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. The second person was a little weird. It was just all right. Then I have 2 books that I got from a subscription service I tried in early 2021, I want to say it was. I tried out Page One, which was a good, you know, it was fine. The books I got though were 3-star reads both times. And so they're ones that I thought were fine, that I enjoyed when I read them, but I wouldn't pick up again. The first one is Everywhere You Don't Belong by Gabriel Bump, and this one was a like coming of age book, which was why I think it was, they, you know, gave it to me, because they thought I would, you know, really love the coming of age, because I do love coming of age stories. But this one, I don't know, I can't remember exactly why, but like it just wasn't as good as I was hoping. And then the same goes for The Body Lies by Joe Baker. I feel like this was one where it's kind of like when you read it's one of those books where when you read the flap, you think you're getting something and then you get something totally different. And I sometimes love that, and this time I didn't love it so much. 3 stars once again, so I'm not going to revisit this, so I'm going to get rid of it. And then we have The Wives by Taryn Fisher, and this one was just ridiculous. And I remember the ending, like the twist, I found a little bit annoying, because it's a twist that for me, I feel like it's just kind of done, and I'm just over reading books with that twist in it. And that's just from, I think, reading a lot of thrillers. It kind of happens sometimes when you read a lot of thrillers and you start to see the same thing over and over. It gets kind of annoying. That's kind of what happened here. But then I do remember the ending, like the very ending of this book, I was like, wow, like it got a little crazy. It got a little wild. Like the last couple pages, I was like, dang. But yeah, I'm never going to reread this, so I'm just going to pass it on. And then lastly, I am getting rid of an entire series. Graphic novel series that I started this series probably like 3 or 4 years ago. The first couple volumes were great, and then this year I read volume 5, and decided, because they were kind of getting worse for me, that I was gonna break up with the series and I wasn't gonna finish it. So this is the American Vampire series, volumes 1 through 5 by Raphael Albuquerque and Scott Snyder. It's a vampire series, and like I said, started out really strong, and then it just kind of, so I'm not going to be completing the series, so I don't want these on my shelves. All right, so those are all the books I'm getting rid of. I feel like I was repeating myself a lot, because I was like, this book was 3 stars, this book was 3 stars, this book was 3 stars, but yeah, that's kind of how it is. I feel like from now on, I really should, when I rate a book 3 stars, like really think about it and really ask myself if I want to bother keeping it. Because I think it would be great to really have on my shelves books that I really enjoyed that were like 4 and 5. So I feel like I really need to weigh it out when it's a 3-star book if I'm going to keep it, and get rid of it right away. That way I don't have to do these unhauls where I'm getting rid of a ton of just like okay books. So yeah, I'm gonna start trying to do that from now on. So let me know down below if you've unhauled any books lately. What was the last book you got rid of, and why? Let me know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will chat with you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.